And then the final thing that I think I need to mention, particularly for those who are interested in what's happening in the markets, is that Saturn and Uranus continue to move closer to each other with that square that I talked about in my financial astrology forecast. So this is kind of harking back to December 2021, and it's interesting that we're seeing similar kind of fearfulness and uncertainty and volatility in the markets, because that has been a main signature of this particular square. I've talked about this a lot in previous forecasts, that every time Saturn and Uranus move towards that square throughout 2021, from February, kind of May, June, and then in December, that it tend to sort of coincided with a lot of volatility in the stock markets and that kind of thing. So again, it could sort of like be ramping up a certain degree of tension, and particularly between sort of like old and new. And you can see that Uranus continues to sit very close to the north node, so it's activating that nodal axis once again. And we've had that in the last 2 moon phases, where there's been a strong sort of like activation around the nodes, and those tend to be either about like a herd mentality, so it can be about sort of like fear, but it can also be about groupthink and the hive mind. So it's interesting. I was listening to a news broadcast last night, I think, after the Bank of England raised the interest rates here in the UK, and there was one forecast, I think his name was David Flowers, who was talking about how he used to be on the sort of the Bank of England's Monetary Policy Committee, and that he feels that there's a lot of groupthink going on at the moment, and that it's actually sort of like blinding us to the fact that the, as he was sort of saying, and I thought this was a really like interesting point. He was saying, the sort of the kind of go-to or the knee-jerk monetary policy when there's a lot of inflation is to raise interest rates, but what is that going to do for like ordinary people in the short term? It means they're going to be paying more on their credit cards and mortgages. So on top of inflation, so higher energy bills and higher food prices, they're also now going to be hit with sort of with extra bills as far as rent and mortgages and that kind of thing is concerned. So it's certainly not going to help people in the short term, and it's ordinary people who are really feeling the squeeze. Never mind, the fact that the country's like national debt continues to go up, and with interest rate rises, that also goes up too. So I think he's got a really good point there, that there might be a little sort of kind of illogical behavior sort of going on, and that can sometimes be the influence of Neptune. And as I say, we do have this Venus Neptune opposition, which happens a couple of days before the new moon. So just something to be aware of, that the energies may feel a little bit scattered. We may feel a certain degree of fear or heightened tension. We might also feel this pull towards the past, or want to sort of like be a little bit like a bull in a china shop. And I think it's important to sort of like try to navigate the subtleties, and to see into the finer energy in this particular new moon, because that's where I think the possibility for hope and for like positive change lies.